We're talking New York Giants on the Our Lads Football Network, Our Lads Football YouTube channel, and we are now just 24 hours away from the month of the NFL Draft. So things are starting to get very exciting. And of course, at Our Lads, this is last year's draft guide, but you want to, of course, order this year's draft guide, which will be mailed to you on April the 7th. PDF versions are also available on April the 7th. So check it out here, the Our Lads 2025. This is the 2024 version, and you don't want to miss this if you're a big draft fan. The best guide in the business. And talking Giants football here, our top Giant contact, and of course from the New York Post, Ryan Dunleavy joining us here. So Ryan, thanks for taking the time to do this.
What's up, Greg? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's like I said, it's almost April, so now we're really starting to get into the draft. Of course, we've been getting into the draft for quite a while at Our Lads, but still, this is when now kind of a lot of the work is almost done and the fun stuff begins. And I know you still have a lot of work to do covering the Giants. And what's the mood? What's the mood in New York as far as the fans are concerned with how the offseason's gone?
It's so funny. I was just talking to a fan the other day, and I was a season ticket holder, and he was saying the best time of year to be a Giants fan is like January 11th through like September 8th, because like optimism is sky high. They're getting bargains on Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, and if Russell can recapture this and that, then all of us, the offensive line stays healthy, and look at our new secondary, and optimism is sky high, as you would expect. It's the best time of year because everybody's undefeated.
Yeah, I know the feeling as a Jet fan, but I am definitely can't wait for that feeling to be over. So as do Giant fans. All right, so let's talk about Russell Wilson and the Giants. So I guess I want to ask you, first of all, was the Russell Wilson signing, was that an indication when they did this that they kind of feel they're not going to be able to get one of those top two quarterbacks, or would they have done this anyway?
No, I think they would have done this anyway. I don't know if it's two parts, right, Greg? Because it's like, are they going to be able to get one? And if he's there, and when we say one, let's just narrow this down. Cam Ward's going to be the first pick in the draft. So it's really, do they feel they're going to be able to get Shedeur? And if they do they even want Shedeur at 3? Like, if Cam Ward's the first pick in the draft, that means at 3 you have either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter on the board. Yeah. So it's not even about, is Shedeur Sanders available? It's, are you going to pick him over one of these guys that a lot of people in the NFL think is a Hall of Fame caliber talent? So it's almost like if the Giants were picking 4, they would pick Shedeur Sanders because they know that those two guys are off the board. So no, I don't think that was necessarily an indication. I think that was more of a let's protect ourselves here in the next 4 weeks so that we don't have to force Shedeur Sanders, so that we know we have somebody in case we want to go with a different player. We know we have somebody who can, reliably get us through the season, which I don't necessarily think Jameis Winston was. So I think that's what Russell Wilson, I don't think he takes them out of the stock, but all of a sudden, if you do end up with Shedeur Sanders, now you have some changes to make if you're Brian Daboll, because you can't stick Shedeur 3rd on the depth chart and give him 0 practice snaps all fall like they usually do with their 3rd string quarterback. That's no way to develop a rookie. So if they're going to have a quarterback room of Shedeur, Winston, and Russell, that sounds intriguing, but you better find a way to develop the young guy in that room.
Because a lot of fans aren't the experts, or they aren't really in the know. Most of them are, and I say this because I kind of feel there are a lot of Giant fans who really want Shedeur Sanders. Is that the case? Do you think that there are a lot of fans who will be disappointed if Sanders is not on the Giants?
I think there's a lot of Giants fans who want a young quarterback to root for, who want to feel like, they're all educated enough to know Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston aren't the long term. I mean, Russell signed a 1-year contract. He's 36 years old. They want a young quarterback to root for. I don't know if you told them like it's Shedeur, would they be any more excited than if you told them it's Travis Hunter plus Jackson Dart, or Travis Hunter plus Jalen Milroe, or Travis Hunter plus Tyler Shuck, who I know the Giants like. Joe Shane was at the Louisville Pro Day. Like, they just want a guy who they can look at and say, he's our future. I don't know if it has to be Shedeur Sanders,
Okay.
especially if it's one of those other guys plus somebody that could be a face of the franchise kind of defensive player.
So I was looking over the free agent additions and also the cap, and I was going, wait a second. I'm looking at there's not a lot of talent, obviously, on this Giant team. Why do they have? Why don't they have any money? What did they do wrong there?
Well, you're talking about currently they spent a
Yes,
lot.
current. Yeah,
Currently they spent a lot in free. They spent $100 million on 2 defensive players,
that's true. Yeah,
Paulson Adebo and Javon Holland.
yeah,
Their secondary was the worst in the NFL last year, and they fired the defensive backs coach, kind of scapegoated him for Deonte Banks' lack of development. And so they made a point to upgrade the secondary. They now have, I think it's 5 guys, all 25 years or younger. You pulled it up right there. So I'm looking at it myself. It's Javon Holland, Deonte Banks, Drew Phillips, Paulson Adebo, and Tyler Nubin. Those 5 guys you have listed there as starters are all 25 or younger,
yeah.
and they're all signed for at least the next 2 seasons. Feasibly, they could all be signed the next 3 seasons if you exercise Deonte Banks' 50-year option, which right now you wouldn't do, but maybe you will. Maybe if he plays well this year, you will. So they have a unit that can grow together. So that's one of the reasons that they're cap strapped now. But they also, if they want to spend a lot of money, I mean, they have contracts they can restructure easily. Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Andrew Thomas. They can get as much money as they want. So
is there anybody out there, or is there a position out there? And I guess we'll know after the draft. But if there was a veteran that you think that this team would more than likely try to bring in at some point, do you know what that could be, or do you need to find out after the draft?
Yeah, I think this time of year nobody is really trying to sign free agents because you're so close to the draft that you want to see what your team looks like after the draft. Like right now, the Giants have a hole that right there, that D tackle next to Dexter Lawrence. You're not playing DJ Davidson there, so
Sure.
like you're probably not playing Jordan Riley there. Could you play? You're missing. Are you missing Chauncey, the guy they signed from the Cowboys? Yeah, you're missing Chauncey. So like he goes somewhere in there. Oh no, there you have
Oh,
him
here
as
he
a
is. They got
backup
him
outside
here.
linebacker. Yeah. So like he'll play he'll be an outside edge player who slides inside on 3rd downs, pass
Okay.
rushing, but they need a 1st and 2nd down guy next to Dexter Lawrence. But you tell me, you're the draft guy. Like this is supposed to be a defensive tackle rich
Yes.
class. I hear scouts telling me that, there could be like 20 deep in terms of NFL starters at defensive
Yep.
tackle. So like there's no reason to sign a veteran now until you see what you do at, the 2nd and 3rd rounds of this draft. That's an obvious spot they could use a veteran, but like I said, I don't think any team is looking to sign guys now. The signings pick up again first week of May.
So these 2 signings here and this player here doesn't mean
Don't move it.
anything.
I don't think they move the needle. Those are guys
Okay.
fighting for. They could be on the roster, but I don't
Sure.
think they're not moving the needle. I don't.
Okay. And getting back to Holland specifically, so did Shane? Was this a correction? Was this an admission that maybe I shouldn't have let McKinney go? Maybe I shouldn't have let Love go.
Joe Shane never admits mistakes. So very rarely, I should say, not never, but very rarely admits mistakes. So I wouldn't say it was admission, and like to a degree. I want to be clear on this. To a degree, they offered Xavier McKinney a contract. They did not offer Saquon Barkley a contract last offseason. They offered Xavier McKinney a contract that was pretty much in line with what they offered and Javon Holland took. You got to figure for cap inflation and
Okay.
whatnot. Xavier McKinney didn't turn it down, went to market and blew the Giants away with what he got. So,
Okay.
and he was up. I mean, he was a first team All Pro, so the Packers were right on their evaluation.
Yeah.
But it's not like, we had no interest in McKinney, we screwed up, and now we got to overcorrect by signing a safety. It's like, no, we valued a good safety at this price. McKinney thought he was worth more, and he was correct. And Holland took the price. So they can only hope he's as good with his new team as McKinney was with his new team. But that's the number they were looking to pay a top end safety. Maybe they end up with a top 10 safety instead of a top 5 safety.
Okay, so when we spoke, and this was a couple of months ago, maybe, I was asking you really early in the process to go over what the Giants would need, their offseason need list, and obviously quarterback is still up there. Cornerback though, finding a number one, so they have that. So does that mean that you think they're pretty done in the secondary, or are they going to need another body back there? What do you think about the depth?
Yeah, no, I think they need to add another body there, veteran type guy. They have, like I said, a bunch of youngsters.
Okay. So not a draft pick. You think that's probably
I
where they
mean,
go
they
back.
could. I mean, you can never have enough draft. If you tell me
Sure.
the 5th round, there's a corner sitting there. Yeah, they could pick a corner in the 5th round. Now, I don't know if any beat writer knows what their teams are thinking in the 4th or 5th
Sure.
round. It's best player available or whatever. But like, if you're at like somebody who could impact the depth chart, would be probably a veteran. But
Okay.
I'm looking at right now what you have here. Like Cordell Flott has played in the league 3 years, hasn't really distinguished himself. Art Green. I mean, yeah, they need a Trey Hawkins. Yeah, if you tell them they could use a 3rd or 4th veteran outside cornerback, someone like they add Adoree Jackson signed with the Eagles, but they added him like right before training camp or something last year, right towards the end of training camp last year, like somebody like that, a veteran they've done that with. Who was the guy they added 2022, a veteran, like right after training camp. He ended up being a starter for the Giants, but somebody like that, somebody late summer, a veteran who's still out there on a 1-year deal, who can kind of show the way to these guys. They could end up doing that, but they got their number one guy in Paulson Adebo. They're hoping Deonte Banks is better as a number 2 corner than he was as a number 1 corner. And heck, they could insert Travis Hunter into there, and then all of a sudden they see him as a defense first player. Then all of a sudden that solves it, right? Then your starting corners are Paulson Adebo and Travis Hunter, and Deonte Banks is now your top backup on the outside. He's a former first-round pick. Then all of a sudden, that's your cornerback depth chart.
Yeah, because let's talk about that because,
Fabian Moreau is the guy I was trying to think of.
Okay. Oh, yeah. He's been on a bunch of teams.
Yes.
So let's talk about that option then. So that's the likely option, possibly, that we're looking at. You talked about it. You had an article behind the wall there. So at the New York Post, and we'll have a link in the description. You can check out all Ryan's stories. So, it's coming down to edge rusher or unique talent, that does not come around very often. Like you said, would he play corner? Would he play receiver? Looks like the Giants, if it was the Giants, just looking at, the depth chart, it would seem to me he might actually work out better as a receiver for the Giants need wish. And I'm sure that's probably where he wants to go as well, because he can make more money as a receiver than as a corner. But the Giants also can use as many.
He wants Travis Hunter wants to play both. He wants to do what he did in college. He wants to play 700 snaps on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, well,
I don't know how realistic that is.
Yeah, that is not. So talk
but
about
the Giant, like I said, going into the combine, the Giants saw him as a corner who could play 20 snaps a game on offense, not
interesting.
Vice versa.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind then. So it looks like then it's probably down to a couple of defenders. What do you think the Giants need more?
I mean, I would take Travis Hunter because of the unique ability. Like, as your team changes, he's like, maybe he's a receiver, maybe he's a corner, maybe he's 50-50. Like, the high impact, like if he's playing corner, great. And then I can put him in on 3rd down and the red zone and offense with Malik Neighbors, great. Or like you said, maybe I have the best young tandem of receivers in the NFL if I have Neighbors and Hunter, and then I could put him in 20 plays a game on defense. Like that excites me if you have the right coaching staff that can handle that. To be seen with the Giants. What I think they would do is if they and this is all if they didn't take a quarterback. If they love Shedeur Sanders, they're going to take him. I just don't know how they feel about him. Put it this way, I know they're split on him. I don't know who the decision maker, Joe Shane,
Okay.
prefers, but I know there's people in the building that are split on him. To answer your question, what do I think they would do? I think they would take Abdul Carter. Nothing speaks to the Giants like nostalgia and history. It's what their fans love. It's what John Mara loves. And it would be very easy for the Giants to say, remember O.C. Umenyiora, Justin Tuck, Michael Strahan, Tuck, Umenyiora, JPP, Lawrence Taylor, Carl Banks.
Yeah,
Like we have those 4 trophies in our building because of our pass rush.
that's right.
And now we're going to put Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter, and Dexter Lawrence and throw them at you. And it would be a top, 5, 7, whatever pass rush in the NFL. I think that's very easy for the Giants to say, this is what we're built on. We're getting back to it and draft Abdul Carter.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially with Super Bowl champs in the division winning their Super Bowl more than anything, besides, of course, Barkley, because they had just waves of pass rushers. So,
yeah, the
yeah.
Giants need to find a way to get their hands on a player like Saquon Barkley. Yeah.
Yeah, wonder if they can do that. It's a little too late now. So what about let's switch over to the offense then, because you said they needed a right guard. They did re-sign Van Routen. Runyon is their left guard penciled in there. Do they still need a guard?
I mean, they've signed a bunch of them, right? They signed Stone Forsythe plays offensive line. They
Hudson.
re-signed Aaron Stinney. To me, they don't need just a guy at guard. Like they
Yes.
needed a starting guard. So like if you told me at pick 34, they picked a starter and Van Roten becomes your top backup guard. I like that. Let's just skip ahead from the whole offensive line. Like that's last year's offense. That's the exact same last year's offense. That's 10 of the 11 same guys plus a new quarterback, which
Yeah.
tells you what I've said on this show and on other shows. Like they blamed everything on Daniel Jones. They thought they were a good team, a competitive team with no quarterback. So they showed it to you. They showed you what they were thinking by they're going to trot out 10 of the same 11 starters plus Russell Wilson from an offense that, hold on, I want to get this totally right. An offense that stunk. Let me tell you exactly how bad it was. An offense that ranked 30th in yards per game and 31st in points per game. And they're trotting out the 10 of the same 11 starters with a new quarterback who the Steelers wanted no part of. So, like, I don't know if I love that philosophy, but they're going to go down with the ship if that's what happens on their belief that they built a good team held back by Daniel Jones.
All right. Yeah, because that offense, the whole offense I'm looking at there there is talent there, but you can definitely tell the biggest question mark is on the interior of the offensive line. That is the
I
biggest.
would agree. Yes,
Yeah.
I would say that whole threesome. Maybe Runyon, I think, has been a pretty average or above average player in his career, but John Michael Schmitz has been a bust as a second round pick, and Greg Van Roten played every snap last year, so there's something to be said for that. But didn't is obviously a 1 year on an expiring clock, better days behind him kind of player. They got a lot out of Illuminor last year, I would say, as
Good
a right
player.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, he outperformed his contract last year. So he's a guy that was a good find. And then Andrew Thomas is one of the best if he can ever stay healthy, but I think he's only played 16 games in the last 2 seasons. So,
Yep.
part of being a great player is being available.
That is true. They cannot afford another injury plague season out of Thomas if they want to be successful. There's no question about that. So we'll keep an eye on all sorts of options on the offensive line for the Giants. A couple more things before I let you go then. What do you think overall? Give me a position that not many of the experts are thinking about that could be a surprise that, hey, wait a second, we didn't realize that the Giants would go there. Oh, but they'll say, hey, best guy was available, so we took him.
Wait, you talking about anywhere in the draft?
Anywhere, yeah.
I mean, they have so many needs. Yeah, guard. I mean, right guard could be one where they feel, they make Van Roten a backup and they
Like
plug in a
second
start.
round pick, that kind of
Yeah,
thing,
like
like
a
you said.
second or third round. I mean, they pick at the top of every round. So like
Yeah.
you could pick the 65th overall player or whatever it is, the first pick of the third round, and he could be a starter. Yeah. So right guard. I'm looking at that.
How
Go
about,
down.
I mean, how about, I was going to, and again, I want to go for,
They could add a mid round receiver.
okay.
Uh, um, Middle linebacker, like they like their starters, McFadden and Okereke. They have no backup depth whatsoever at middle
Okay.
linebacker. So could that be a spot they go for like a middle round player? It could be. Like I said, I think defensive tackle is a must.
Okay.
Yeah, if I was the Giants, I would probably go defensive impact player Hunter/Carter at 3. I would probably go quarterback 34 or on a slight trade up from 34 into the back of the first round. I'd probably go defensive tackle third, and then I'd probably go guard or center or guard center flexibility fourth. That would probably be what I would hope my top of my draft would look like.
All right. And by the way, what are they going to do with Neil? What's the deal there? What's
I mean, they're gonna keep him and hope and decline his 5th-year option and treat him as a top backup this year. Like you guys
okay?
have him behind Stone Forsythe. He'll play before Stone
Yeah,
Forsythe. Like he'll be the swing. He'll be like I guess James Hudson is technically the swing tackle. Evan Neal will be like a swing offensive lineman. They'll keep him at right tackle for some. They're gonna introduce him to guard in the summer. If they're a year too late on that, they should have done that last year. They're going to introduce him to some guard and see if he can salvage his career the way like an Eric Flowers or a Robert Gallery did by moving to guard. But again, I don't think he'll be a starting guard. He'll be like the swing guard if
sure.
if that's a term that makes sense.
Okay. And is Gano? You think he's still going to end up on the team? You think he'll be kicking for them
Yeah,
week
I mean they
one?
would have cut him by now if they
Okay.
weren't. Yeah, I mean they would. He's had 2 really bad years, 2 really injury plagued years. He was as good as they got before that. It was near automatic. But he's getting older. I mean, I think at this point they probably would have cut him before free agency for the salary cap savings. But I guess if you told me like in the 7th round, one of those that kicker from Florida State or somebody was there and they wanted to take a flyer on him, I guess they could give Graham Gano competition. Right now he has no competition. I guess they could give him competition with a young player and make him win the job in camp.
Otherwise, they seem to bring everybody else back. The key roles on special teams.
Yeah,
Resigning.
They just re-signed Gillen, so he's clearly the punter, and they re-signed Casey Kreider to a 1-year contract. I don't know, like 13 years in a row. So those 2 guys aren't going anywhere. I guess they could challenge Gano in camp. That would be something that would be interesting, I think.
Are there any injuries from last year that will bleed in to the next season?
Go to the top there. Theo Johnson had a Liz Frank injury. I've heard he's running around. Probably be like a slow integration of the spring, but they're hopeful he'll be ready for training camp.
Okay.
Like I said,
Runyon's gonna be okay, right?
or should be Andrew Thomas. They say he's crushing it in the weight room. Again, it'd be silly to rush him in the spring, given his injury history. I think he would be, a slow integration with training camp on the mind.
Lawrence is good.
That's a good question. There's a video of him dancing in like the Caribbean over the
Okay.
last week, so I'm guessing he's good. But there's been very little talked about with Dex. I'm guessing he's good. Yeah, he had that. What did he break his arm last year? I think. I can't remember what he broke his elbow, something like that. So yeah, I think it was elbow. So there's been very little said about him. I don't imagine that it will be anything that'll bleed into this year.
All right. So I know, of course, things are getting busy out there with the meetings. GM actually probably just concluded his interview. Has the head coach had a chance to be interviewed yet?
Dayball talks tomorrow.
Okay. So that'll keep everybody busy. And I'm sure Giant fans will check that out. Ryan, I appreciate it as always. I look forward to talking to you after the draft when we can update what the Giants did and how the fans reacted. But this should be pretty fun. No chance at all the Giants trade down.
No chance at all.
Okay.
No chance. I mean, it's a never say never league, but no chance. I mean, I guess if somebody was like, "We'll give you 4 first-round picks," they would trade down. But like, no, they're going quarterback, Carter or Hunter.
Thanks, Ryan.
See ya.